Well, hello everybody. I apologize for this video coming late, but I got called into the office this weekend, and it led to a very, very fun weekend that I choose not to remember, and I will just bury into the recesses of my mind and just eradicate it from existence. But in any case, I'm getting the video out to you now. It will not be a wrestling-related video, unfortunately, because I really don't have a strong topic to go into for wrestling right now. I mean, we're heading into Extreme Rules, but I can do a preview for that later in the week. Lucha Underground still chugging along, still very good. Although I will say, the Graver Consequences match between Mil Muertes and Matanza, while it was entertaining, I think the match from the week before kind of stole its thunder. I think Sexy Star and Mariposa's match from the week before was so good and so amazing that this match didn't quite live up to it. Even though it was fun in its own right, it wasn't quite as good. I think the ladies, like I said, I think the ladies kind of stole their thunder. NXT, we're heading into the next TakeOver special. It's already determined that it's going to be Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe, which, okay, I mean, third TakeOver special in a row that we're getting this, really? And it's not even, like, that great of a rivalry, at least not to me. It's not one of those things that's like, oh, yeah, Joe and Balor. I'm, like, fully on board for that. It's not like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, where I wanted to watch Sami Zayn just rip Kevin Owens to shred and get his revenge on him. It's nothing like that, and they only got 2 takeovers out of that. So I'm sure the match will be fine. It's just that I feel like I've seen the match twice already. It happened again at a live event where the title changed hands. So I mean, they're going to add a stipulation to it, I would think, just to freshen it up somewhat. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, not a whole lot to talk about as far as wrestling goes. Obviously, there's the releases going on too, but there's not a whole lot else I can add to that. So, without a whole lot of wrestling discussion to bring to the table today, I thought I'd do a movie discussion and give my thoughts on Civil War and talk about one aspect of Civil War that a lot of people are talking about. And if you don't know my feelings on Civil War, I should call it Captain America Civil War, since that's the actual title of the movie, though it's not really a Captain America film. It's more of an Avengers film. It's a very good Avengers 3, and that's my opinion of the movie. It's very good, very entertaining. Basically, it's a better Batman v Superman than Batman v Superman. Everything that Batman v Superman tried to accomplish, this movie does in spades. And so, when I said that Batman v Superman could have been a good movie, I was right, because that movie happened. It was called Captain America Civil War. So those are my basic impressions of the movie, and if you have not seen the movie yet, which is highly unlikely considering that it's been out for a couple weeks, but if you haven't seen it yet, shut the video off now, and actually follow me on Twitter. The link to my Twitter is down below in the description box. Check that out. And you get to listen to me live tweet during Raw tonight and various other wrestling shows as well. So, yeah, you have that to look forward to tonight as well. But going into the spoilers of Captain America Civil War, I'm going to touch upon a topic that is kind of really the main crux of the film. And I have to say, one of the things I really respect about this movie is that, and this is the impression that I got, the movie itself doesn't really take sides, whether you're Team Cap or Team Iron Man. It doesn't really paint Iron Man as completely wrong, and it doesn't paint Captain America as completely right, even though Captain America's name is on the title, or vice versa. It doesn't do anything like that. It kind of leaves it up to the audience which side you want to go for. Most people I've talked to are Team Cap. Some people are Team Iron Man. My sister in particular, very staunch Team Iron Man. I think she's biased because she's a huge Spider-Man fan, but in any case, she brought up a very good argument about why she supported Iron Man's side of things, and it is a good argument. It's like I said, the film isn't presented in a way where one side is completely right and one side's completely wrong, and the film itself doesn't really take a side. It leaves it up to the audience what opinion you stand for. And because of that, I'm going to take the very, 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 and again, I'm going into the spoilers here, so this is your last warning. I'm going to take the very offbeat opinion and say that I am neither Team Iron Man nor am I Team Captain America. I'm Team Zemo. I'm Team Zemo all the way. And I could go point by point about how both superhero sides were wrong and how Zemo was actually right. And one of the things I love about Zemo's character, and some people didn't like this, but I loved it. He's a normal guy. And I love that a normal guy with a beef, fractured, humiliated, and destroyed the Avengers. I'm like, that is fantastic that he was able to manipulate them to like fall apart. And ultimately, the film ends in a very bittersweet way where the Avengers are actually split up. And yeah, again, very ballsy of Marvel to do that. But yeah, I supported Team Zemo because when I looked at both sides, and especially the two men that were leading both sides, Tony and Steve, okay, I love and respect Captain America, and I really love Chris Evans as Captain America. Cap is probably my favorite Marvel superhero, and that's not something I would have said 15 years ago, but as I've immersed myself more and more into the character, and especially with the movies, I mean, Winter Soldier is still my favorite Marvel movie. It was fantastic. Cap has kind of become my favorite Marvel superhero. That said, while I probably would support his side of, like, no government oversight over the Avengers, especially a body like the UN, which I don't have. I'm the type of guy that's like, when the government gets involved, that's when things kind of go to shit. And I look at a world body like the UN getting involved in controlling the Avengers, and I'm just like, yeah, I remember the Rwandan genocide, and it's like, I know how effective the UN can be in times of crisis. So it's kind of like, do we really want them in charge of the Avengers? I'm like, not really. That's not something I want. And then you have General Ross there, who's, I guess he's the Secretary of State now. I don't remember exactly what his position was, but I'm just like, dude, that guy's an asshole. That guy's a proven asshole. And I just love that bit where he's showing the Avengers all the things that they did wrong and all the collateral damage that took place because of them and the battles that they've had and everything. And I'm like, I love how you showed absolutely no footage of that Abomination Incredible Hulk fight that happened. You know, the one that was your fault. You know, pretty much anything on the Hulk is your fault, buddy. And actually, when he goes through that whole line, it's like, we're a Thor and the Hulk. We're a Thor and Banner. That's like losing two nukes. I'm like, okay, number one, Thor went back home. The Avengers know that, so he's not even on Earth at the moment. And Hulk, dude, you made him, and you chased him away and forced him into hiding and everything. Anything on Hulk is on you, buddy. I mean, that's your fault. But he's like, yeah, let's have the Avengers answer to that asshole. Okay, that's. So it's like, I can see where Cap is coming from. It's like, this isn't a good idea. But at the same time, it's like, all right, the way you present your case is that you show that the Avengers are better off working as their own private entity and that they can function on their own. The worst way to do that is to commit obstruction of justice, lead a fucking car chase, act very suspiciously, break a shit ton of laws, and then act with the bad guy without... And yes, he's uncovering this conspiracy that Zemo has laid down, but it's like, I feel like a lot of the evidence that you have and a lot of the information that you've gathered, you'd probably be better off like sharing that information with Tony. Again, proving the worth of the Avengers acting privately by cooperating with them and showing them what you were able to do on your own. Things like that. Things like leading a car chase and obstruction of justice and a shitload of other things, probably not the best way to show you... to prove your case, buddy. I'm sorry. It's like, Cap, you're a great leader on the battlefield, but I do not want you in charge of a body like the Avengers because, holy fuck, your answer to everything is run, punch, and throw shields. And it's like, dude, that's a little diplomacy, buddy. I feel like you would have been better off doing that. Yeah, again, all he had to do was relay some information about some of the things he had noticed and some of the things that he was uncovering about what Zemo was doing. But yeah, so Cap, by the way he acted, made himself wrong. And, you know, I also look at, and I'll cover this more, well, let me get into Tony now before I get into the other Avengers, but Tony, I kind of already highlighted how, like, his side is kind of wrong, like, intellectually, but at the same time, I can kind of understand it, because it's like, okay, you know, police and, elected officials, they have to answer to the government that, you know, and whatever processes and policies that are in place. So, okay, you have all these superpowered individuals that are acting as a superpowered, you know, world police team. Maybe they should answer to somebody. And it's like, okay, I can understand that, and I can definitely see that point of view. My whole problem with it is when Tony, again, instead of showing the value of government-run Avengers, he's kind of like coercing people to his side and acting independently on his own and doing things that are highly questionable, like putting Wanda under house arrest and manipulating Vision to get her to do it, to get him to put Wanda under house arrest. And I'm like, that's not kosher at all. It's like, oh, you don't agree with me, so you can't leave the Avenger complex. I'm like, what kind of, like, fucking police authority do you have to institute that over one of your teammates? I'm like, you fucker. That's terrible. And Spider-Man, he brought Spider-Man into a fold. And first of all, I love how Tony got all upset that a kid died in Sokovia. And then one of his first impulses is like, I'm going to recruit a 15-year-old. I'm going to rip him away from his family. I'm going to recruit a 15-year-old. I'm going to bribe and manipulate a child to fight for me. And it's like, okay. And did Spider-Man have to sign the Sokovia Accords at all? Why or why not? And why is Tony the only one on the team that knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man? Shouldn't he? I mean, transparency is supposed to be one of the big goals here, so shouldn't everybody on Tony's side of the team know who Peter Parker is, know who Spider-Man is, and know what's going on there? And shouldn't Peter Parker be officially entered in as a member of these new government-run Avengers? Shouldn't he have to sign some paperwork? Oh, well, he's a minor, so maybe Aunt May, his extremely attractive, super sexy Aunt May, Marissa Tomei, I don't care if she's 51, she looks fantastic. And it weirds me out that they went for super hot in casting that role. It's really bizarre, but in any case, I digress. Marissa, if you're watching this, you look fantastic, you look amazing. But in any case, shouldn't, he be, officially documented as a member of the Avengers based on Tony's, based on what they're doing over there, what Tony wants? And apparently not, because Spider-Man, Peter Parker is very keen on keeping his dual life a secret. He doesn't want Aunt May to know, and he wants to wear a mask, and he doesn't want anybody else besides Tony Stark to know who he is. And it seems like Spider-Man's whole stake in this is just to impress Tony Stark, because it's like, oh, he's this really awesome rich guy that gave me a fancy new suit, and, it's like, God, I gotta impress him. And that's really the extent of Spider-Man's stake in the whole thing. And on the flip side of the equation, I'll flip it over onto Cap's side. Now, Cap's side is wrong. Did they kidnap Ant-Man or what? It's like, all I know is that Falcon's like, hey, I know a guy. And then they open up a van and they've got Ant-Man just shoved in a van somewhere. And then Captain America turns on that all-American charm to kind of win Ant-Man over. And Ant-Man really has no stake in this fight. He's just like, oh, well, Cap needs me. And I'm like, okay, I'll follow you, Cap. And, okay, cool. And, his mentor has a beef with Iron Man's father, but other than that, there's really no stake for Ant-Man to be in this fight. And that's really the whole crux of the whole thing. What you have here is two guys who are fighting with each other, who at the end of the day are arrogant muscleheads, who are both convinced that they are completely right, even though they do a lot of things wrong, at the detriment of their own argument. And then you have a bunch of people working under them that are easily coerced and manipulated victims and all. I felt bad for Spider-Man and Ant-Man. I really did. They were victims in that movie. So that happened. And then, you have all these Avengers and everything. You have the arrogant muscleheads and the victims and the manipulated poor saps and all of this. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, Zemo's right. The Avengers should not function as a day-to-day operation. Zemo is completely right in this. And I'm sorry. I'm like, yeah, you got a bunch of overly emotional, overly, out of their depth, people that just should not operate. Like I said, the Avengers should not operate as a day-to-day operation. They should operate as a response team. It's like whenever shit gets really, really bad, like an alien invasion or something. And that's just let them go back to being vigilantes in the middle of whatever city they operate out of, and then they'll come together to help out in whatever crazy earth-shattering shit happens. But as a day-to-day operation, whether it's private or whether it's government run, it's going to be a shit show either way, and the personalities in this film prove that. And the fact that airport fight even happened, as awesome as that scene was, I'm like, Zemo's right. The Avengers shouldn't exist. And again, I just love, and even though it's not the comic Zemo, because I was excited when I heard that Baron Zemo was going to be in the movie, and it's not the Baron Zemo from the comics at all. He's just, at the end of the day, he's just a normal guy, and which I thought was a very interesting take. But at the end of the day, he was right. And at the end of the day, my guy won. So yeah, very controversial opinion on my part, but that's just kind of how I see it. Honestly, the best hero in the whole film for me anyway, at least as far as like who I agreed with, was Black Panther. I felt sorry for him after what happened. He sought justice, and then at the end of the day, he learned a lesson and actually grew as a character. And you know what? He's a guy that has experience in political, his father was a king, and he's like the new king of his nation, and so he's got a lot of experience in running a nation and diplomacy and a bunch of other things. It's like, well, fuck, if the Avengers have to operate, put him in charge. He'd probably do really well. But, and he was actually the only one of the Avengers that was able to defeat Zemo in any way, shape, or form. But in any case, yeah, I really like Black Panther in this movie. I can't wait until the Black Panther movie. I'm really excited for that. But I hope I don't sound like I'm bitching at Civil War, because it's a great movie. It really is. And the fact that we're able to have these discussions about it really enhances how good it is. That there is no clear-cut right side. It's just, the film kind of forces you to pick a side, and it kind of forces these discussions, which I think is really great and really different for a lot of comic book films. Not since The Dark Knight have you really seen something like this, where there's actually legitimate discussions taking place about who's right and who's wrong and what's the right way to do things and all this other stuff. And again, more of a thinking man's movie than Batman v Superman was, which was not a thinking man's movie at all, unless you're trying to figure out how to make sense of it. Then it forces you to think quite a bit, and then you get headaches, and it leads to a Tylenol addiction. But that's the end of my trashing of Batman v Superman. But Civil War, if you haven't seen it, very good. My opinions of it are very controversial, probably very different from most others. Like I said, most people seem to be Team Cap, but I'm the ball buster. I'm going to be here and say that you're both wrong. Cap and Iron Man are arrogant muscleheads and fools in this film, and go Zemo. But yeah, that is all I have for you now. Like I said, follow me tonight. I'll be live tweeting during Monday Night Raw. Link to my Twitter is down below. I always appreciate the support, but that is all I have for you now. I'll be back later this week to do a video on Extreme Rules, maybe even touch up on Ring of Honor Global Wars and some of the latest New Japan shows, and maybe Lucha Underground if something big happens this week, because they've got the Trios Champion, or not the Trio, the Gift of the Gods Championship is on the line this week, so it's going to be very cool. But yeah, that is all I have for now, so peace out, everybody.